Hi everyone, my name is Dawn and welcome to What's the Stitch, a weekly web series where I answer all of your burning questions about sewing, costuming, and cosplay. Today we're going to talk about some basic terminology that you're going to be encountering over the course of your sewing project. One of the more common terms that you're going to find yourself encountering is the selvage. This is the finished edge on the sides of your fabric that you do not have to cut. It is sealed within the weave and so it's not going to just unravel the moment that you look at it. Springing off of that, your fabric grain is the angle at which the threads in the fabric are woven together. You can test this by pulling a loose thread on the edge cut of your fabric and looking at the angle at which it comes out. Most garments are cut along the fabric grain and you will have to align them to the side of the fabric accordingly. This means you're going to have your threads going up and down and side to side, just like a hashtag or a number sign. Conversely, the bias is a diagonal line that goes between the warp and weft, the horizontal and vertical threads. That means that instead of being like a number sign, it's kind of crossed over like this. Garments that are sewn on the bias have this really lovely, flowy, kind of drapey quality to them, and a lot of shift dresses, especially from the 1930s, are sewn in this way on the bias. Something else we're going to be talking about is the right and wrong side of your fabric. This is the pattern side, or the side that is meant to be seen, and the unpatterned side, the side not meant to be seen. When you are folding your fabric to cut pieces, or if you're sewing your pieces together, you usually want to do this right sides together so that the seam is on the inside of your garment instead of the outside. A lot of sewing instructions will tell you to backstitch the beginning of your seam. This means reversing the direction of your sewing machine, stitching back over the line that you've just sewn, and then continuing on with your seam. This will lock the beginning of your seam in place and keep you from being able to simply pull the thread out the other end again. But sometimes you want the stitches to be loose. This is when you would use something called a basting stitch. This is a set of long, loose stitches that are often used to keep something together temporarily. You can also use it for a gathering stitch. You can do this by hand or with the loosest setting of your sewing machine. Another thing you're going to want to think about, especially if you're going to be drafting your own patterns, is the seam allowance. That is the distance between the edge of your fabric and the line of your seam. This is usually marked as 5/8 of an inch on commercially bought patterns, but that can be kind of bulky, so 1/2 inches also work. Other ways to remove bulk are to clip corners and curves on the seams. This is a way of getting your fabric to lay flat on your seam. If the seam is curved, snip from the edge of the seam line every 1/2 inch or so. When there are corners, cut diagonally across one edge to the other to create a boxy shape as close to the seam corner as you can without cutting through it. Something else that you'll find yourself using a lot in sewing projects is something called interfacing. This is a stiffened fabric that attaches to the wrong side of your fabric that gives the fabric extra stability. It can be woven like traditional fabric, or it can be non-woven and felted. Can also be sewn in or have the back coated in a light adhesive to be ironed onto your fabric so it will stay in place. Another thing you're going to find listed on a lot of patterns is the idea of notions. These are the extra non-fabric things that you're going to be using for your projects. This includes buttons, trims and appliques, zippers, boning, bias tape, grommets and eyelets for corseting, and those kind of things. Another term you're going to come across quite commonly is the armsight. This is the armhole in which your sleeve will be sewn in. Finally, we're going to talk about hemming. Typically, you're going to see two kinds of hems. There's going to be the visible kind and what is called a blind hem. A visible one is where the thread line at the bottom of your garment that is going to be holding the bottom nicely in place is actually visible on the outside. A blind hem, conversely, is one where the seam is not visible from the outside. This is done by hand, usually with a needle and thread, catching just a couple of threads on the edge of your rolled hem and the fabric of your garment as you sew, though some sewing machines do offer a function that allows you to do this by machine instead of by hand. Alright everyone, that's all I've got for you today. If you enjoyed that video, hit that like button, and if you want to be notified when I post new videos, give that bell a ring. If you have any other terms that you'd like to have explained, or you have any questions about sewing, costuming, and cosplay, leave me a comment below and I'll be sure to cover them in a future video. Alright, thanks for watching and I'll see you all next week.